Hello, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Criterion. And on Tuesday the 12th of March, we'll see two releases, and a link to the video covering one of those is now above. The other release on that day is the 1941 film All That Money Can Buy, or otherwise known as The Devil and Daniel Webster. Now, this is a 1936 short story written by the American writer Stephen Vincent Bennett, and he tells of a New Hampshire farmer who sells his soul to the devil and is later defended by a fictionalized Daniel Webster, a noted 19th century American statesman, lawyer, and orator. The narrative references real events in the lives of Webster and his family. The story first appeared in the Saturday Evening Post newspaper on October the 24th, 1936, and it was published in book form by Farrar and Reinhardt the following year. The story also won the O. Henry Award. The author adapted it in 1938 into a folk opera with music by Douglas Stuart Moore, who was a fellow Yale University alumnus. Director William Deturle brings the classic short story by Stephen Vincent Bennett to life with inspired visuals, an unforgettable Oscar-winning score by Bernard Herrmann, and a truly diabolical performance given by Walter Huston as the devil. Jabez Stone, played by James Craig, is a struggling farmer facing hardship and despair. A series of misfortunes push him to desperately decree that he would sell his soul to the devil in exchange for a better life. His pleas answered by the sly Mr. Scratch, played by Walter Huston, who appears and offers Jabez a Faustian bargain, 7 years of prosperity in return for his soul. Blinded by the promise of wealth and relief, Jabez readily agrees. Now, the initial years, of course, are idyllic. Jabez finds prosperity, aiding his neighbours, and even becoming a champion for the esteemed politician Daniel Webster, played by Edward Arnold. However, the deal with Mr. Scratch comes with a hidden cost, and as time progresses, Jabez's newfound wealth fuels his ego, leading him to arrogance and moral decline. He neglects his family, embraces greed, and loses sight of the values that he once held so dear. As the 7 years near their end, Jabez faces a terrifying reality. He must face Mr. Scratch and surrender his soul. Realizing the true price of his deal, he desperately seeks help from Daniel Webster. All That Money Can Buy is a masterfully crafted film. Each element of its construction adds to a wonderfully lyrical quality. Joseph H. August gives us glorious atmospheric cinematography, which stands out from the offset. There's some stunning use of smoke and backlighting in particular, as well as some suitably creepy shadow play. The editing is beautifully managed also, and this was the work of a young Robert Wise, the director of Star Trek the Motion Picture and The Sound of Music. He edited Orson Welles' Citizen Kane the same year, and his work here is equally as impressive. Not only does he have perfect sense of rhythm and pace, but he shifts between scenes like the breathlessly intense barn dance sequence and the elegant montages that signify the passing of the seasons, but he also throws in some more experimental touches. We get some slightly slower than subliminal shots of Mr. Scratch, basically a stand-in for the devil, shown in negative that invade early scenes when life is getting too much for Jabez. And also standing out is the music of Bernard Herrmann, another Citizen Kane collaborator. His score is simply glorious in this film, blending pastoral sections with abstract, subtle, yet unsettling cues, and his grand, frightening Mr. Scratch theme that is a flavour of some of his later Hitchcock scores. The Academy must have thought the music was special as well, for despite composing many of the most famous film scores of all time, it was with All That Money Can Buy that Herrmann won his only Oscar. Now, there are some fantastic performances here too. Craig is a little wooden, and Anne Shirley, who plays his saintly wife, is a little bland, but the supporting cast more than makes up for this. Huston especially is the standout. His performance of Mr. Scratch is wonderfully animated, charismatic and villainous, without veering into over-the-top territory. Arnold is eloquent and magnetic too, delivering his show-stopping speeches with suitable gravitas. And then you've got the entrancing Simone Simon as a seductress sent to steer Jabez away from his family. Elsewhere, the film's world is made rich through a variety of memorable character actors and actresses. As a young actor in Germany, Wilhelm, later known as William de Turle, appeared in F.W. Murnau's Magnificent Faust from 1926. 15 years later, he returned to Goethe's tragedy by way of its adaptation into an American folktale through Stephen Vincent Bennett's story, The Devil and Daniel Webster. Despite the political cast of the material, de Turle remains loyal to Murnau's sumptuous visual style, evoking a soundstage Arcadia with the invaluable assistance of cinematographer Joseph H. August. Produced independently, de Turle's film was recut and retitled The Devil and Daniel Webster for a series of reissues, and of course it's now been returned to its original release form by the UCLA Film and Television Archive and the Film Foundation. So let's look at the features. We have a new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed mono soundtrack. Audio commentary by the film historian Bruce Ader and Stephen C. Smith, biographer of composer Bernard Herrmann. New restoration demonstration. Reading by actor Alec Baldwin of the short story written by Stephen Vincent Bennett on which the film is based. Episode of the Criterion Channel series Observations on Film Art. That's about the film's editing and comparison of the differences between the July 1941 preview version of the film, Here is a Man, and the film's 1943 re-release as The Devil and Daniel Webster. The Columbia Workshop's radio adaptations of Bennett's short stories, The Devil and Daniel Webster and Daniel Webster and the Sea Serpent, both featuring music by Bernard Herrmann. There's a trailer and an essay by the author Tom Piazza and a 1941 article written by Bennett. Illustration is by Thomas Oates. All That Money Can Buy, or The Devil and Daniel Webster, has a running time of 106 minutes and it's in a 1:37:1 aspect ratio. And it's already in the collection and it gets a well-earned upgrade replete with a new restoration on Tuesday the 12th of March in the US, and here in the UK on Monday the 8th of April. And in the next edition, we'll be taking a look at The Runner from director Amir Nadiri, inspired from his own childhood. Until then, from me as always, it's goodbye, and above all, good Criterion viewing.